All right, Bob Huskis.
Here.
Barney Schmidt is not coming tonight. Bill Connell.
Here.
Bob LaPorte.
Here.
Bob Warnlocker.
Here.
Robin Sudam.
Here.
Okay, Ted Chase.
Here.
David Triggs.
Here.
John Hurling.
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Stephanie Chodel.
Here.
I said Bill Connell. Did I miss anybody? No, I don't think so. So we know Arnie's not coming, Mary's not coming, and Vanessa's not coming.
About John.
Oh, and John Moon, I haven't heard from. I know.
All right, at this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to the mayor. We need to reorganize. We haven't done that yet.
That's right. Are there any nominations for chair?
Yes, I would nominate Mr. Puskis for chair.
Are there any other nominations for chair?
I'll second that.
You're gonna make me say it. Nominations don't need a second. You're welcome to do that. Any other nominations? Do we have a motion to close nominations for chair?
I'll make a motion.
Aye. And I'll keep that as a second. All in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor of Mr. Puskis to be our chair, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Your meeting.
All right, now it's open the meeting to nominations for vice chair. I spoke to Arnie before he left for Mexico. He said he'd be glad to do it again.
I'll make that motion.
Seconded. No, don't need to.
I was waiting for it.
Another nomination.
And you're talking about the most,
Yeah.
this guy knows everything.
He knows
All right,
Robert's rules better than I.
nominations, close the nomination for vice chair. All in favor, Arnie being...
Aye.
Aye.
Well, after just being reminded.
Okay, I guess the next one on this list is nominations for secretary.
I nominate Billy Connell.
Are there any other nominations for secretary?
Do you accept?
I
About Sergeant at Arms.
Seeing none? Close the nomination for
I think this
secretary.
committee needs a Sergeant at
All in
Arms.
favor, Arnie, Billy being secretary?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Okay, thank you, folks. Public comment. Meeting will now be open, the motion to open up the meeting to public.
Second. I know, right? Okay.
All right, you ready? Anybody public have anything to comment on?
Yeah, I do.
State your name and address, please.
My name's Tony Gaylord. I live at 37 County Route 518, and I'm here in reference to the hunting program, and on 518 especially. I met the chairman and some of the other, I know Bob, I'd met the mayor before. I'm here to just give you an update, if the township manager hasn't. I picked up a copy.
First meeting, Tony,
Okay.
so can't give him an update until I give him my report.
I'm just going to go off of some notes I put down. I picked up a copy of the police report today. This is the third report. And let you all know what took place. There's 10 of us that are allowed to hunt on this 518 program. That piece of property that the township acquired, it's about 140 some acres. My property butts two ends of that piece. My property runs all the way to the pipeline. It's like a bowling alley, long and narrow. I noticed on it that there were people in 2022 that were on the program hunting that the program didn't even start. Didn't start until last year, 23. The guy walked 30 yards away from me, never saw me, had a bow, compound bow, camo on, pack on his back, was a Latino looking person, male, went down the end of the property. I saw him come out of the property at, I'll give the address because I could care less, to tell you the truth, 33 518. Came out of the back of that property, walked all the way down to the pipeline, went towards Higgins to the right. As far as I could see him, I knew at nighttime he was going to come back in with a flashlight, which he did because there's a lot of stickers and stuff. Went right back up to the property, had no authority to stop him or say anything to him, so I didn't. Anyhow, 2023, 10 of us applied for the program. and I guess you know the procedures. We had to put up $1 million bond, insurance, so on and so forth, and jump through all the hoops, which is common. I also hunt in a program in Montgomery Township. Prior to the township taking over that property, I knew the person that owned it, and I took care of that property since the early 70s. Posted it, never had any problems there at all. And I'll just give you some suggestions. You can take them for what they're worth after. Like I said, I picked up a copy of the accident, the police report today. The officer that did the initial report, the detective lieutenant, did an excellent job on the report. It's still under investigation, and that, as far as I know, he outlined all the details. Your chairman, Bob, and Tara came with me on beginning of February, I guess. I injured my leg, pulled a calf muscle, so I didn't hunt in that latter part of the season after the beginning, before what they call shotgun season, a 6-day season. After that, my leg got a little bit better. I didn't want to climb the tree stand with an injured leg. I went onto the piece that I'm hunting on behind my house on township property, and I got to jump with all the wetlands. I got to jump a couple of creeks. So coming back, it was dark at night. I said, I'm not jumping across those creeks. I'm going to do the one. I'm going to walk down to the pipeline and walk out. As I was walking out in the dark, like I said, my property meets the pipeline. I see these white things on the pipeline and right at the edge of my property. I couldn't tell what they were until I got up onto them. There were 5 feed bags dumped on the property. One of them had a seal on it. I took pictures of it all. The police have it in their report, and Tara took pictures of it when I showed them the property and what was taking place. It was a seal out of New York from a co-op. And I'm saying to myself, who buys corn in New York and brings it down here? But needless to say, I picked up all the garbage, carried it back up to my house, I threw it in one of the sheds. And the next day I was doing something, I was busy. It was January the 1st. I went out to see whoever in the program was throwing stuff all around. I walked down to the edge of the property where I found it, walked the pipeline. I know the property very well. And walked all the way to the end. I didn't see anything, to see any tree stands. The only thing I saw was an empty 5-gallon white pail off to the side. And I cut through the woods to come back up towards 518. And the piece of property between the houses on 518 and the township property, it's like a slight L. It belongs to Kendall Park Baptist Church, and it butts all the way to my property. And I was walking on the edge of the township property and the church property, and I noticed through the woods, I noticed a tree. I couldn't put both of my hands around it. It was cut off with a chainsaw. I walked up to it, had a game camera on it, took my picture, looked around, saw a tree stand pretty high up, right behind this cut off tree. Down on the ground there were most people use shelled corn. It was cob corn, just the cobs laying on the ground. It takes forever for them to rot. So I took pictures of it, walked back towards my house on the edge again. I get up to the edge of the woods. This used to be where the church property is now, used to be a hay field. I used to run my horses out on it, and it's all overgrown now. On the edge of that, there was another tree stand, which I'll call climber, that used to climb up. And in the climber, it just upset me a little bit. I've been hunting for a long time. I've hunted Africa with a bow. I've hunted all over the country. Here's a deer leg stuck in this climber, and it was a pretty fresh kill, just the leg part. There was hair on the ground from where they took a deer, harvested a deer. You could see cone going off of it where he put these corrugated black pipes around to put corn in them. Off to the side, a barrel there with a strap around it where they were baiting in a deer and so on. I took pictures of all of it, called the police. Officer came out, followed me through the woods. I give him credit for that. It was pretty muddy and what have you. Came back, he made a report. I think Tara know about it. It was around the 24th after we had that second snow and it started to melt off. And I said, let me go over and see, whatever. I picked up footprints coming out of this house again. You could see the pathway that was beat down through the bushes going to it, all right? Came back footprints came down from that. I tracked him for 2 hours through the snow, all the way around. He went all different spots, went deep from the pipeline to 27, did the same thing, littered on the ground, feed bag on the ground, other stuff where they were baiting, screw it into the trees. And I found a commercial-made ground blind that was caved in by the snow. His footprints walked up to it and around it and out. They all went back to the same address over there. I took pictures of all of it, called the police again. Officer came out, took a report. He didn't come over and see the tracks. He said, I'm not going back over to the house and that. So I notified Tara and that. They all came out, I don't know what day it was, some day in February, showed them all, took pictures of it all and what have you. Today, there's more than one person hunting in there. And the reason I say that is this guy that I saw on 22 was carrying a compound bow. On the pipeline, I found, they don't call it an arrow when you're using a crossbow, they call it a bolt. And it's like an arrow, but shorter. It was laying on the ground, so either there's another guy hunting or this guy's hunting with two different things. This person, the police, after they came in, the two detectives, lieutenants I believe they were, they spoke to him, they got a name. My copy is redacted, naturally. So I don't have any addresses, name, but they picked up a name. The report, the police know the name. Whether they're going to charge him or not, I don't know. And I'll just, like I said, I walked the property today. Everything is exactly the same as we left it, Bob. So nothing has been removed. The other thing that was there, they took a feed bag and they filled it with human clothes. Why? I don't know. Outside it to dissipate the scent of a human or let the deer get used to the scent. I've never seen nothing like that in my life. And anyhow, that stuff is still out there. The tree stand's still up. The one on the ground is still there. I didn't walk down to the ground blind way down deep in. If I can make some suggestions for you, for next year, for the future, or whatever, you need to post the property. You need, whether any property that you have, it has to be completely posted. I called Fish and Game when I first found the stuff out there. They wouldn't get involved because the property wasn't properly posted. Number two, the verbiage that you're using on your posters, you don't need all that verbiage on there, and I'll get into it a little bit. Those posters that you're putting up, they're no good. They're paper, they fade. Only the black stands out on it. The rest of the posters fade out. And that, I gave Tara one. The posters that, I'll show you one. This is a cheaper one. Tara can keep it. I got no interest in Minuteman signs. These are ones that are used in one area, but I would leave out bow, just put hunting over. You can use Franklin Township. They'll last about 3 years. They make a better one. Okay, the better one that is single, they're on a roll, they are. You can have it. Okay, the ones that are single, they will last 5 to 7 years. They'll last about 3 years. So it behooves you to pay better signs. They'll last. You don't have to go out there. You just have somebody go out there and check them. You won't have to repost it every year with those. I'm going to give you another picture for Tara or whoever. Here's what you can post to keep up with your insurance that they want. Put them at every entrance that you have, parking lot or whatever. And you can use the wording like that on a metal poster, and they will suffice, I think, for what you want. It just says warning, gives all the information. It does from September the 1st to February the 28th, and the whole 9 yards on it. I think that'll, meet with your insurance carriers.
Did you print this stuff up yourself?
No. They're the signs actually Montgomery uses now, but I'd leave out bow, because they have a bow and hunting area, gun area, and I just would put hunting in progress. You can put Franklin Township by municipal permit. The good signs, they've been buying these lately, but the real good ones, I put them up. They'll last 5 years with and the sun won't bother them. It's made by the same company and that, but they're single. They're not on a roll. suggestion, the program needs to be started not a week before telling the people who are in the program. You got to start it a month or 2 months before to give them a chance to put up their stands, do whatever, get everything posted and what have you. The numbers on the tree stands, they worked out, they put the numbers up. I took a picture of one of the guys as I was tracking this guy, found one of the stands, had it way up in the air. You had to really look at it. You put in your things to try to keep them lower to the ground where if you walk up on it, somebody can see it. You don't have to do whatever to get to it. And that. The right-of-way that's down by the lane, goes down to the township property. They were going to use that as a right-of-way to go down until they built the parking lot. Smart idea to build the parking lot. You're not messing with any of the neighbors, or nobody gets, messed with. That right now, it's a plastic jersey barrier. It's ugly. I'm tired of looking at the thing, okay? It was used to stop the people. You can have that one also. Just give that to Tara or whoever. It would stop them to go down the lane. You should put a barrier up there that has a lock on it where you can open it up for safety purposes, or if you get a fire back there, they can go in. They don't have to go in off of 27 off the pipeline and ride all the way up. And that, just keep it clear of the falling trees and that. You don't have to fix the road that good. But this way here, you put up a decent sign like they use on a canal or something like that, not this ugly jersey barrier. The only way they're going to move that is with a forklift, or to get it out of there. I'm assuming it's filled with water and heavy. It's a big thing. Yeah, the last thing I'll say is just check the wording on the paperwork that you sent out, because it sort of conflicts with that area, and I'm only speaking of 518. I don't go on any of the other properties. It's a bow and firearm area, and in some of the things there, you didn't say bow and firearm. It's a little bit confusing on, I think if you looked at it. I think whoever copied it, they copied it probably off of 22, and then really realized it was for 23 also, that you started it, because it only started in 23, and that's about it. Your zoning, I spoke to them today, because I came over and paid my one bill, my water bill, and this is just an old sign, but this, you can have that one too. They don't last, they're paper, they're not worth buying. Like I said, the roll ones, they'll last about 3 years. The good ones will last 5 to 7 years. That's about it. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you, but I was just here to try to pass some information on and try to get down to stopping these people who are coming on that property and actually destroying it, because it's all our property now that the township owns it. And it really upset me that they just did what they did, and they're not hunters. They're just a bunch of slobs, to be truthful with you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank
Okay.
you.
Say it again, please.
I'm sorry?
Your last name?
Gaylord, Gaylord. Those, I don't know what you're going to do with those stands or property or whatever, but
Public Works should get them down.
you're going to need a tree guy to get that one stand down.
We have them.
Yeah, the guy who put it in there, they use these climbers to go in there, these screw-ins, and they're in on an angle, and it's up there. I mean, there's no safety line or anything. I use safety line and stuff. You can snap them really easy climbing them. So, there's probably a young guy up there climbing it, and that doesn't really care. And that, but like I said, they cut down the township tree. They did all kinds of stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay.
Any other comments from the public?
Just a quick introduction. I'm Anne Marie Orleski. I'm the vice chair of the Trails Advisory Committee. Vanessa was unable to make it tonight, so I'm standing in, not for her, because I'm not a committee member for you, but I'm just coming in to help her. So, looking forward to the meeting.
All right, thank you very much. Motion to close the public comment period.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the minutes of November, I
Those
guess.
are the minutes of November. I couldn't find in my notes anywhere that we approved those, because December was canceled and January was canceled.
Okay.
So I don't believe that those have been approved. So
I don't think we have them.
they're back.
All right, does everybody get a chance to look at those?
Motion to approve.
We have a second?
No, technically, Arnie
Yeah,
comments.
I have
Guys, ready?
a few little comments. The first of which, on the second page, about in the middle, it says Chairman Puskas added that a large tree fell at the Wyckoff Garrettson house. But according to the first page, you weren't here.
Oh, your down is absent, but you were present. Were you present, or was that the one that Arnie?
No, Arnie was
Arnie
chaired that
chaired it.
meeting.
You came, did you come late that
I
meeting?
came late.
You came late, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, usually if somebody comes late,
I'll
it says
note
so
it.
with the
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
So we'll note tardy for Bob Huskis.
All right.
You were tardy.
Okay, old business, green infrastructure project. I was not at that meeting. I meant to be at that meeting, I didn't look at my calendar early enough in the morning, and missed it.
Where was that, Ted? I'm sorry, you said old business?
Green infrastructure projects at Naaman Williams Park.
Oh, yes, you didn't come to that meeting, I remember that, okay, you're
Yeah.
right, yep.
And then on the third page, public session, second paragraph, as there was no public comment presented, Arnie Schmidt made a motion to close. It should be the second public session of the meeting.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Ted.
Okay.
Making errors.
Arnie
Thank you, Ted.
Of course, I read
Yes, he
that
does.
instead of reading the Trails Committee
Usually we
report.
rely on Arnie to fill in for Ted when Ted's not here on the grammatical correction and such.
Thank you, Ted.
In Arnie's absence, I'm sure he's proud to have you back in your
Yes.
chair, Ted. All correct corrections to
You
Kara.
can all be
Shane.
sure
I
that
know, right, I had people in the wrong
All
places.
in favor of approving the November minutes as
You're the board
corrected?
here.
Aye.
Aye.
abstain, wasn't here.
Okay. Moving along here, financial report.
I only have one question.
Sure.
Sewer, is that like the sewer bill for the?
It's the sewer bill, yes it is, for both for
Wait,
Inman
how-
Park,
how do you-
Inman Park, Naaman Williams Park, and Middlebush Park, all have
How is that
sewer.
determined for the parks?
The sewage authority has a standard bill, like you have a house bill, and we get billed for it.
And I guess water's the same.
Same, correct.
When did they put the meter in at, Blackhawk Quarry, at, Inman Park?
The meter for what?
Not the meter, the charging station at,
Oh, that was put in,
Yeah.
she's about 6 months ago,
Yeah, at
8 months ago?
least.
That was a
Probably 8 or
grant.
9 months ago, yep.
That was a Volkswagen settlement grant
Yeah.
that paid for the installation. Next one is Williams Park. It's gonna go over by the playground and picnic pavilion, right in that area, and in fairly close proximity to the concession stand, so it's easy to run the electricity to it.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, the Open Space Trust Fund has 1.1 million.
No, that's the ending balance for the budget, the temporary budget right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're in
okay.
temporary
Or the
budget right
temporary
now.
budget hasn't been adopted. This is one of those things that as rollover takes place, don't hold me to this, I think it's 17 million right now is the
Okay.
trust.
There's
And there's other numbers in that 17 million, and I definitely don't remember those numbers. Like 17,546,800. It's not a round number.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, there's an annual budget that we prepare, I mean, and, you know, it's one of those things that we treat the expenditures out of the open space trust in the same manner that we treat the general fund budget. However, it isn't like that. It is not the same because it is part of a trust. So that's a different method of spending and accounting. know,
Do we
like,
get interest on the balance?
all of the money deposited is in interest-bearing accounts, yes. But the reason I say that is, when we have a temporary budget for the municipal and water, it's a percentage of the previous year's budget. We treat the open space the same way, so that operating costs can still be expended during the course of that temporary budget until the full budget is adopted. That's
Before you stop.
Or you stop
business.
stop business, and that's it's a hard thing to do in this business, is to stop.
Okay, good. Any more questions on the financial report?
How come, just looking at the totals, you've got budgeted amount, and then you've got balance as of January 1st, I would have thought that the totals would be the same, and they're actually about $4,000 different.
It may have to do with timing.
Because
when the bills are paid.
my guess is that on January 1st, there was an expenditure that had to be paid immediately. It's probably something that rolled from 2023.
Yeah, there was one thing that, and I have to go back into my report to find exactly
Because
what
it
it
would
was.
have been in the
but
January
yeah,
report.
Yep.
And then the monthly expenditures were 28,000. Yeah, I guess that fits.
I'm hoping this is in Excel and it did the right math.
It is, yes, I have to, yeah, I definitely don't add those up on my own. I use the formula, that's all we need, right?
All right, if there's no further questions, motion to approve the financial report.
I'll make a motion.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New business.
Okay, let me just close this. All right, so, okay, I made this here, this will be easier. Here, you can take that one. So we received, can you just pass these around? We received a request from the Meadows Foundation as of February 8th. And basically what it is that they had requested if there was a way we could help them with some of their maintenance issues that they're having with their houses, some bills that have to be paid immediately so that the houses can keep running, things like propane, oil, what else? Basically to heat the house, a push mower because their mower broke, so when the lawn has to be mowed coming up, which they take care of. So they had requested, and Sue Ann was gonna come tonight, but I think she's not here, she's on her way, I don't know. You'll see on this sheet, this is the original request that was made to us. Bob contacted our attorney, and he did give us the guidance that we both thought we were going to get, which is that, I don't know if you want to say.
Sure, I can go through this. So, in conversation with Tara, who had a conversation with Swain Durkach, who, if you don't know, is the president of the Meadows Foundation, they are experiencing some cash flow issues currently. They maintain 3 of our homes, the Van Wickle house on Easton Avenue, actually 4 homes, I'm sorry. Van Wickle house, the Wyckoff Garrettson house, the Hageman farm, and the Van Loo Sedam home on South Middle Bush near Black Horse Mills. Obviously, it would be in the township's interest to see the Meadows Foundation succeed and flourish. Unfortunately, due to a lack of membership, it's been difficult for them to do some of the fundraisers that they've done in the past. So they're, in all honesty, just short on cash. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Some of these expenses are not expenses that the Open Space Trust Fund can pay. We cannot pay their insurance, both workers' comp, and that the DNO is director and officer. And so, we have, well, we certainly, see, I had director and officer, I looked it up. But now that I have an insurance expert in the committee, she will certainly keep me guided as far as what type of insurance this is. It's director and officer and workers' comp. We cannot pay that. We cannot certainly pay their payroll for caretakers, nor their accountant, nor their construction loan payments. We certainly can pay for a push mower to maintain the lawn at Hageman. And then we get into the suburban propane due and anticipated public service bill, and Skylands Oil. So in the immediate, if there is an outstanding bill, the open space trust certainly can be used for those purposes. We pay for the buildings that they don't maintain for that now. There's oil that's paid for at Dunn. There's gas that's paid for at Tulipwood. So that's not, these are our houses. We own them. So since we are the owner, we certainly can use open space trust funds to pay those bills to maintain those houses. I know I have said this in this meeting, in this committee previously, we need to keep these houses heated due to the fact that they have old plaster walls. If they freeze, it will destroy the plaster walls. That's why we heat houses that are vacant. So those expenses, and I did have a conversation with the township attorney, and he said absolutely that I was correct in that. We certainly can use those open space trust monies to pay those bills to make sure that that part of this is taken care of. If there was no Meadows Foundation, we'd be paying it. And there would be no Meadows Foundation to do the other things that they do. So what I think we're bringing this to your attention tonight, if it is the recommendation of this committee to assist the Meadows Foundation with those bills, I will then bring it to the Township Council at the next council meeting. And the reason is that we have leases, and those leases clearly state that they're required to make these payments. So it would require a resolution of council to authorize those expenses being paid.
I have a question.
Sure.
When they did the movie over there, was there a fee that was accepted?
And they accepted the
And
fee.
Meadows did?
They were paid,
Okay.
yes. We did not get that. They got that.
Is this a one-time payment? Or
Well,
is it
I mean, if
something
you
that-
see what they do anticipate some funds coming in, $8,700 through April from caretaker fees to be deposited. Currently, they have $2,000 available in the bank. What I have been told is they're looking to, they're working with a financial consultant to restructure
Right.
their leases with their caretakers to perhaps put them in a better financial position as far as that's concerned. Robin, you remember, right?
Yeah, I guess I am.
Okay.
My mother started it, so
Yeah,
I think I'm
I thought you would. So I think that, so I say that, I think that for those things, there are other things that the lease calls for, that if the times continue to be difficult for the Meadows Foundation, I might be back here again and talking to you again. They're responsible for all repairs on the buildings under $1,000. Well, I mean, and that's like not $1,000 a year, that's each individual repair to the house. Each invoice under $1,000 they're responsible to pay for per the lease. Well, clearly, again, I go back to, these are our houses. For big things, for instance, the window replacement at Van Lucid Dam, they got a grant. I mean, they apply for grants, they do those things that they can do as a nonprofit organization to make repairs and make improvements to the houses.
And Suann is good at
She's very good.
hunting down grants.
And
Yeah.
she's probably not here because this is not an easy time for her to deal with this. She's having, and I understand why. She gives her heart and soul to it, and this is difficult. I think that, I would, as the township manager and the one who has to oversee all of these things, I want to see the Meadows Foundation alive and well, because they do a great deal of things for us, for those houses.
Can we request to see their books? We asked them one time before, because there was some money involved one time before, years ago, and they refused to give them to us.
We can certainly ask them for whatever you
Because
recommend.
my question is, how much rent are they charging?
That's why I said they're looking to restructure all of that right now. That's what we were told.
They're working with a consultant, like they're getting pro bono services to restructure so they can be in a better situation, but the rent they're charging right now is not
not sufficient
It's
to
probably
cover.
realistic that we ask if we could see the new formula when it's
Mhm.
developed.
Yeah, yep.
And
They, you know, I know that the general formula is that they pay, there's a minimum amount that they have to pay. And then if they don't do work on the property during the course of that, then it costs more.
Right.
So, the numbers off the top of my head, Bob, I don't know what those numbers are.
And I wonder if there's, knowing that it's in a form of partnership between the Meadows and the
Oh,
Township,
absolutely.
that maybe in the next issue of the Franklin Times, we could run an article that the Township's fortunate to have the Meadows Foundation, and for people that are interested in history, you know, here are these 4 houses, here's the dates of them. We just give them a little publicity. The Times hits a lot of people read
Well,
it.
that's what donations, why they're doing it.
Well, and they can promote an event, certainly, and that's a good
Well, you know,
place
they
to
can't,
ask.
we promote
That's
all
been
their
in there.
events. I mean, every event that they have, that all came as a result of Terry Thorson showing up at a council meeting, and I said, well, I don't know, if we don't know about your events, we can't publish them on our social media and our website. Everything since that time that she showed up has been published on
But I
all
think,
of our
in
outlets.
addition to that, just an article describing the relationship might pique some people's interest to join. You know, to go to an event, you could see it's on social media, a one-time
I'd like to
thing.
think that maybe we could be out.
Yeah, there should be a explicit encouragement of people to join. I mean, I'm just thinking, I can't remember whether I've been asked to
Renew your
pay dues for I don't know how many years.
Mhm.
And I pay dues even though I
What-
don't go to
What
the
dollar are you thinking
functions.
about? What's the dollar amount you want to,
I think that I want to pay the bills that we can pay for.
okay.
If you add up
The heat and
bill-
the propane and the public service and the oil.
And the push
Because,
mower.
you know, and the push mower is simple. I mean, I honestly, I was at the Public Works garage while we were plowing on Tuesday of last week, and there was a new push mower in a box, and we would just give them that one. It was on the floor, it was there, so I mean, that's not hard.
Looks like
If you
about
mind-
18 or 19,000.
If you minus out what we are unable to pay, this number of 24,921 becomes 16,708.69. And then if you minus their total anticipated funds, which is the 10,700, the total would be $6,008.69.
So I'll make a motion to move forward and bring it to council.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Comment on the motion. Says Ted hasn't paid dues in the last 20 years, maybe he could pay the $6,000.
There you go.
His dues are
Well, I'd have to look at my
$6,000.
records to see when I last.
$300, it's $300
I
a
don't
year
know.
times 20.
I think that if any of the houses have the name of anyone on the
They
committee,
should-
they should pay for that house.
Yes, there you go.
The new member. All right,
I
now,
agree. There we go, Ted picks up something.
we didn't call it Bamboo Sedan for nothing.
Okay.
Bill, you made that second?
We got a motion on the floor from Bob, do we have a second?
It was Bill. yeah.
Bill.
Okay, all in favor of the motion? Any discussion on the motion before, one thing I want to just comment on, I like to see the books. And the other thing
Well, let's
is,
see
are we
the-
opening ourselves up to other nonprofits saying we need,
They're the only nonprofits that manage our homes that we own.
okay.
I mean, this is honestly, the expenses that are outlined here that I've talked about these are the expenses that we would have plus more if the Meadows Foundation wasn't managing the houses as a leaseholder.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, that's,
And can we see the new restructuring plan when,
Right,
I'm sure that Sue Ann will be more than happy to come here and talk about it. There's no doubt in my
all
mind.
right. Motion's on the floor, all in favor of the motion of helping the Meadows out, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
and I never like to spend money, do I?
Historic stuff you
Wait till we
do.
get outside later.
Yeah, I know.
On historic stuff you do.
I'm historic, yes.
Okay. Pathways, the final draft on the trails plan.
So before the last meeting, I had sent out a link to our updated Pathways and Trails plan. So I don't know if I had a chance to talk about it last time, but the Trails Advisory Committee has been working on this plan for a long time. And basically, there was a few reasons it took a long time. Basically, instead of it just becoming a regular update, we then got these ideas to update all of our mapping, which meant we were gonna update all of our trails brochures, which meant we were gonna update all of our trails markers. So all those three things had to be complete before we could put the final touches on the plan. So the original plan is from, when, 2010, I wanna say?
At least, yeah.
So I have it up on the screen. You'll have to go through it at your leisure. It's very entertaining to read, so you will all love it. But basically, we go through and talk about what the vision and goals and objectives of the Trails Advisory Committee are. So for example, compared to 2010, some of the changes in the vision and goals are, focusing on areas of need that don't have as many trails as other areas of the township. And we do rely on some of the information from the local health assessment for that. We do look at increased programming, educational events, making all of our trails inclusive for all ages and abilities. So we go through all of that. The other main thing we did is that the original trails plan kind of had just drawn lines about where we wanted to make connections. And what the Trails Committee and I did, and it was a good project, is we got a GPS tool from our IT department, and we, on the ground, GPSed every single one of our trails. So now we have the data, and it can actually be put on all different maps. So the maps you see in front of you have been walked, and they have been ground truth. Our IT department, went through and verified them. So I'll show you some of the maps. Let me back up real
And
quick.
they'll be on the website?
It's already on the website. I just want to show you one thing here. So for example, each trail area we talk about in the plan, we've updated the table here, so it has the exact lengths of the trails, and we've, said what you can do, what you can't do.
Very
Is it
nice.
easy, moderate? Then if you go down to the bottom, there's a lot more in here, but basically all of our proposed connections or new trails, we've made a map for and discussed. Every one that has this has what the proposed improvement is, what the proposed surface type is, why would that be, what the exact measurements are. So any proposed trails, obviously we probably haven't walked them. They've been mapped by me basically and just measured. So of course they might be off by a few feet, but we try to get them as close as possible. And then a reference map for each one so that the reader can go through and refer to the map they want. So that's kind of the whole gist of it. We have all these maps here. This is for Memorial Forest, so we put that concept plan in there, and just
How
kind
are
of
you going to
scrolling through.
introduce this to the community?
So basically, the first step is, I don't know if the Pathways and Trails Plan ever came to the Open Space Committee, the first iteration. I wasn't sure if it did or not, so I wanted to give it to all of you to review and give me your comments on. Arnie gave me some comments already, which were great.
He said there should be more trees on it.
Yes.
This one's
So,
over 2.5 inches.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what is a tree.
Right.
Definition.
so I figured the next step right now is we're talking about at the Open Space Advisory Committee. We would like to do a presentation of it to the planning board, who we are hoping will adopt it and the council as part of our master plan.
Part of it.
But we definitely, if it's going to be adopted as part of the master plan, the municipal land use law requires that we do 2 public hearings for it. So we'll do that, and we'll advertise it, we'll put it up on the website. And we've been discussing in our Pathways and Trails meetings, our trails meetings for quite a while.
It's something to really be proud of and
Yeah.
promote.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is a component of.
Has everybody looked at this? I mean, Tara sent it out for the January meetings. Everybody went through, looked, I mean, it's a long read, but it's everybody, I mean, I think everybody should look at this before we vote on this. Because there's stuff like on, what I've seen on the Dunn and Gunther one is just way out of whack. The
I
trail
need
goes
more
right through,
time.
right through the middle of
Yeah.
the place, and then it goes through the biggest wetlands that's on the property.
Right, well, so these are just concept plans, just to keep in mind. That was kept in from the original plan. So that was there to begin with, in the original plan. I don't know if it ever came to this committee or not.
Well, the committee always talked about, when we discussed the north-south trail and stuff, was to go along South Little Bush Road,
Correct.
come out of the parking lot of the state property along the front of the road and just connect it in by Laird's store.
Correct.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and we discussed that in our trails meeting. So in looking at properties that have since been developed and properties that we've acquired since and where there's safer access, a lot of thought kind of went into where the good parts are to connect and where not. But you should definitely look at it and give me your comments for sure, absolutely.
Dunn and Gunther are not particularly well suited for hiking trails.
Right.
There are some aspects on that property that it would be nice to be able to get a trail to, but unfortunately, and the mayor and I many years ago once took a walk from Gunther to Dunn. That was not a necessarily wise thing. We were younger and more kind of motivated, and we were in muck up to our knees at some point as we made our way through the woods. I think I lost a shoe at one point.
Oh, that's the shoe I found.
Well, so the Dunn and Gunther
thought it
was
was
in
a
the
good
original
idea. It
Pathways
was
and
not such
Trails
a good
plan,
idea.
but it must not have come to this committee, right? So I'm glad for all of you to look through it, give me your comments. I would ask, if you don't mind, that by the next meeting, I would say if we could have the comments in, because we'd like to get the, if there's any edits that have to be made,
We're gonna send it out again, because I didn't.
I resent it to you again, so hopefully, I hope your email's not blocking my link, but if not, I'll get it to you somehow.
And for something like the Dunn and Gunther, so we don't hold up the whole thing, can we put something in there like to be finalized, to be developed, so it's understood it's in progress?
We could, but if it's the consensus of this committee that it maybe shouldn't be in there, I could take that back to the Trails Committee, and if, they're in agreement, then we
leave it
would just
out.
remove it, so. And if the Trails Committee says, well, we really want that in here for this reason, I can then bring that back here, so.
Well, if there's a question about the location of a trail, and you want to have the trail, you can say something about approximate location.
Yes, absolutely.
Exact location to be determined.
Yep, oh yeah, that we
Right.
can do if we have to move it around but the good thing about this Pathways and Trails plan, besides the fact that it's updated, because of it, we've updated all of our trails brochures, which now have all nice new color maps, and they are where you're walking is actually the trail, like it's been walked.
Well, the other thing is, and this is why we did the work that we did on the north-south Middlebush Trail years ago, was that when you have a plan like this that's been adopted and made part of your master plan, and it includes proposed trails, then you're considered shovel-ready for any grant applications. So you're ready to go. It's just, the grant application opens up and you have a shovel-ready project because you've already determined the location and connections and
putting
it's
in
part of your
EV
master plan.
chargers, things
Yes.
like that.
The amenities even go with it, so like, for example, we put the Memorial Forest idea that Open Space was working on in there, and that really would make us shovel-ready for grants through like AARP for accessibility and
These other,
things like
there's
that.
these organizations that it's not just the DEP or thing, there's these organizations that, and the time for application can be as short as a month.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do you put together a whole plan? We already have it.
Yeah.
So
So
the Trails Committee did an outstanding
They
job.
did,
on this
yeah, they
project.
worked hard,
Congratulations.
they really worked hard.
It seems
Everybody
like
can
it.
look at
Gosh,
the plan,
it's such
but
a
make sure you're pretty awake when you're
thorough
reading it.
report.
It's pretty, it's lengthy
I
as well,
looked
get
at
out,
it,
it's a
yeah,
boring read.
good,
I mean, I 3 times into it and still haven't got through it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's so thorough. It's like, wow.
It's lengthy,
And
that's,
you
yeah.
still need members?
No, actually now we're full.
full.
We are now full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Good.
yep. We just got our last new member the other day, so.
Okay.
So I would say if by the next meeting, if you could give me your comments, if you have any, and you can just email them to me if you want, however you want to get them to me.
And are you looking for any ideas, if you do have ideas like for connectors or
Yeah,
things
for
like
sure.
that?
If you
or
see
just
something
to-
that you know would be better or doesn't make sense because you know the property,
Okay.
that's great information for us to
Okay.
have. Yep.
Okay, next on the list is the Dunn diversion.
The Dunn diversion. So we are working on moving forward with the scoping hearing. So the signs went up today, the
It
required
did. I got my
signs.
first phone call about it,
Yes.
well, email about it about 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah.
Sign went up at 2:45, right?
So to
I'm
have
gonna tell you.
it's way in advance, which is so great.
It's way in
Yeah.
advance. I'm gonna tell you, I got an email, literally at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Yes, Carl sent me a picture, yes.
No, I got an email from a resident
Oh, you
asking
did?
about, yes.
Oh, no, already? It was
Yes.
only up for an
Now,
hour or
the
something.
only
Oh,
concern
no.
I have then is that they put it in the right place because they identified a building and that that's not the corner where the sign should be. I'm hoping that it's on the
Yeah.
northwest corner and not the southwest corner because we don't own the southwest
Yes.
corner that would be Laird's store.
I'm sure it is. I can't imagine that they wouldn't put it in the right spot.
so.
Yeah, it
But
must have went up late today, because I was by there.
It did
It
go
was.
late.
Yeah, because 2 or 3 o'clock, I went by there, and didn't see any
Yeah.
signs up.
So we're required by DEP's Green Acres program to first have a scoping hearing where we present to the public why we want to do the diversion, as well as how we plan to mitigate any impacts. And the requirements are that we have to publish 2 notices in the newspaper of record, which the first one is going in on February 26th, and the next one goes in, I believe it's like the end of end of February?
No.
Middle of March, yes. Then the signs were made up, our sign shop made them, and they installed them, and it has exactly the language that is required to be there. There's very specific language, it has to be on a white background with black letters, there's certain
So when's the first public meeting?
so the public meeting's on, not March, April, we
April
changed it,
6th.
April 6th. April 6th at 6:30, 6 PM or 6:30, let me look at my calendar.
I thought 6, but here.
And, yes, here. And yes, and we got
This
approved.
is something that Tara and I can,
No, just,
Do you
no, I'm
need-
saying this is the public hearing is to solicit input, and all it is a documentation of comments that then gets sent to the
Yeah.
What was the date?
Green Acres.
It's
April
April
6th.
3rd.
Oh, third.
Oh,
Yeah, April
April
3rd,
April
6
3rd.
PM here.
That's the 6th.
It's
You
a
want some
Wednesday.
support for that? It'd be good to have some.
I mean, honestly, a lot of times with these Green Acres hearings, because Green Acres requires you to have hearings for really any change to a park, a diversion is a bigger one, of course, or open space. A lot of times, a lot of people don't come, but if you want to come, you can
But
absolutely come.
and this is really just for us to solicit comments from anyone who wishes to make them.
Yeah.
They're documented in writing and then passed on to Green Acres so that when Green Acres makes their final decision as to whether or not to approve the diversion. That's,
Yeah.
and you can, and those comments can be made at that public scoping hearing, and they can also be made directly to the DEP.
Right.
By anyone
Right.
who wants to make a comment.
So DEP has looked at all of what we've submitted, our application. They're good with us having the hearing, which means that they've looked at everything we've submitted and they're good with it. And once the hearing's done, we submit the transcript, and then they'll tell us, how to proceed, which hopefully will be, that's the last step. So, moving forward.
Well,
And this is to
I
separate
think
the house
State
from the
House
property?
Committee meets
Correct.
in June.
Yes, yeah, so if we can get it before then,
That's
that
why
would
we
be
wanted to get it
excellent.
done as soon as we could get it
Yeah.
before that
Yeah.
date.
This
And
is
hope
to
that
separate the
Green
house
Acres
from
doesn't come
the
up
rest
with
of
any
the property,
complication.
yeah.
Just subdivide a small portion
1
off,
acre
couple
for the
of,
house?
2 acres.
2
acres
acres.
with the house?
And I would, and we'll look to move the driveway away from the current easement across the property on Amsterdam Road and out to the cul-de-sac that was built off of People's Line.
To do the diversion, it's been a longer process because we had to first get an approved facade easement from the State Historic Preservation Office. And they came out numerous times and we had to document everything that was to be preserved and get that approved. And then we were allowed to apply for the diversion. So it's been quite a process, yes.
Yeah, the email that I got said that there's a sign that you're going to demolish a historic structure and I want to know what the town is going to do in its place. I said,
Oh.
there is no demolition. In fact, the person who might acquire this house is required to not only keep the house, but keep the historic facade as part of the deed restriction, so.
read the sign, the correct term, yeah,
Right.
I
read the
think by
sign.
just driving by,
Yeah,
picked
read the sign.
up a portion of it.
All right, update on the trails maps.
I kind of did it. We're just updating our trails maps and we're gonna get them printed and put them out there.
Okay, the plaque for Melba.
Oh, yes, the plaque for Melba. So I got a quote from, the original thought that we had was to, it almost looked like kind of a street sign and it was gonna say, Melba Batten Way or whatever, where I brought it to the Trails Committee. It was way too expensive. So I got a quote from Crown Trophy, and to do the 10 by 10 bronze framed casting, it's $300. And then they recommend that we just pick out a stone from, they recommended Bridgewater Stoneworks, but of course I have to look at,
I'll just
yeah.
get a row stone from Trap.
And is
Yeah.
that gonna go on the ground, or where you have?
It's gonna go on the
Yeah,
ground.
and that's
Yeah.
In the parking lot?
just what Tara said, 10 by 10, just so we're clear, that's 10 inches by
Yeah,
10
yeah,
inches
yeah,
by
yeah.
10 feet by 10 feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got the
Right.
rock at the corner,
Yes.
Wall Avenue and stuff to put that.
Yes.
Really
So-
big rock.
Okay, so that's
Our
one little hash
original
mark in the
thought-
minutes? That's one hash
Yes,
mark, right?
our
Yeah,
original,
yeah.
our original thought was that,
To-
we
to-
wanted, there's a bird blind there, and Melba
Right.
really, really loved the bird blind. That was one of her favorite places, so the Trails Committee was saying maybe we could put something on the bird blind. But when I spoke to the man at Crown Trophy, actually went there, and he said, do not put any bronze on the bird
Yeah.
blind, because someone will take it, which
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
realize.
Mounted on a rock that's big.
Yeah.
Just go
So,
down to Trap Rock and get a rock.
yeah, so we got the rock and trap
They
rock.
happen.
They have
Yeah.
several.
Yes.
And they usually make one available to us if
What's
we
that?
need
When
one.
it gets installed, should we have a little do?
Yes, absolutely. We'll have a little ceremony, and we'll invite her son.
We'll get Nancy there.
Yes.
That's
I'm
yeah.
just saying her daughter
Yeah,
is
daughter. Yeah.
right around the corner.
So I guess the thing is now,
Niece.
so will Trap
Niece,
Rock,
that's her
I don't
niece,
know
yeah.
how much the rock from Trap Rock will be. Okay, so $300 is what we need to approve to, or recommend be spent to buy the rock.
Motion approved, $300 for the number
Well,
five.
is there a way that you can
I'll
bolt
second
it
it.
to the rock?
Yes, DPW or can affix it to the rock so that it'll be safe
Yes.
there. Yeah.
And
We have
it's
one
the
of those.
same, the ones that were in front of the library for the 9/11 memorial, the rocks came from Trap Rock and they were
Nice.
affixed by the Public Works.
Trap rock
And
does
what's the
have rock.
status of the bird blind? Because we talked about that.
We did, yeah, so the Trails Committee is really kind of taking the lead on that and trying to figure out, is it best to replace the whole thing? Is it better to try and fix it? So there's some people on our committee that think that repairs can be made. I don't know that that's correct, so I think the next thing is to meet Carl out there with some of our Trails members, and if he determines that it's not fixable, then we would just get a quote. Now, we have been looking for quotes for the cost of new bird blinds, but it really depends on what you want. Do you want just a simple bird blind? Because that can maybe be done with the help of, Boy Scout, Eagle
That's what I was,
Scout.
I
yeah.
was going to
I
say
think,
that.
I think the one we had there now was help with the Boy
It
Scouts.
was.
That would surprise me, that's why I was just said to
Yeah.
Bob.
It
We have
was.
enough scouts in town to do.
Yeah,
Can we back up the bus? We didn't have an official approval on
Oh,
the,
yes.
on the plaque.
yes, motion for the $300.
Huskis moved, I seconded it already.
Oh, Bob Huskis moved, okay. I'm sorry, who seconded? I missed it.
I did.
You did, okay. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Excellent.
Preservation of abandoned railroad beds.
So, well, actually, Robin, do you want to talk about it? Because
Sure.
it was your idea.
And actually Walter Andrews on the Environmental Commission asked us about the rail line that goes through the middle north end of town, and if there's something that could be done with that along the lines of rails to trails.
Obviously,
Bob, you wanna take the lead on this one?
obviously then, that would mean that Walter Andrews was not on the Environmental Commission or having anything to do with the township at the time that this was first proposed.
About 2006.
Yeah, about 2006, and got incredible
I was on the
objections from the people who owned the properties along Amwell Road on which the
No,
railroad.
that's the Middle Bush Inn, we're talking about from Veronica.
That's owned by Conrail.
Well-
Conrail owns that, and we don't have any access to
We're
that.
having a meeting tomorrow,
Mhm.
Friday, with Walter Lane at the county to talk about this.
Well,
and
you
learn
can
more.
talk as much as you like.
What area do you want to investigate?
As Ted just said, from Veronica
But we
East.
don't own that. And I just dealt with, let me just give you some insight. We had to go jump through hoops to try to just deal with a drainage issue along a piece of property on Churchill Avenue to get Conrail permission. They are we said, will you vacate it? Will you abandon? They have no interest whatsoever in abandoning that rail line from Clyde Road to Route 27.
Well, I'm
None.
interested in having a conversation with Walter because, or Mr. Lane, because if he thinks maybe it's worth a conversation, let him do it.
I'm just telling you, this is recent,
Well, I
Robin,
think,
this isn't like something
Well,
in the past.
I'm not gonna tell him he
Yeah.
can't do it. I'm
I'm just telling you that they're not going to relinquish that
The-
land.
and the rail line from South Middle, from Clyde to
We own
South-
two sections, we own a section from South Middlebush to Amwell.
I don't know. if
We own that,
You sure about that?
I am absolutely 100% positive of it. That's where John Luce got accosted by a property.
No, that was.
And our
no,
chairman, our
no,
former
that was-
That was some
that was,
Amwell
We own both sections.
Both sections.
We
I
own
I
both
thought the
sections.
Goldie family bought the one section.
No, the township owns the section.
Okay.
The piece that's particularly interesting to me is where it crosses 27 into Middlesex County.
And I'm telling you that there's no way, we just went through and did, and literally had to jump through hoops to get a temporary access permit from Conrail to just go underneath to try to run a pipe underneath the railroad tracks to try to get drainage of a flooded
I'm
yard.
prepared now, thank you.
Robin, what particularly interests you about it?
Well, rails to trails in general,
Yeah.
but connecting over to Jersey Avenue train station.
Idea being people could bike to the Jersey Avenue train station and then get on the train.
Exactly. And there already is a light at 27 at the railroad's line.
And that section in New Brunswick is not exempt either.
So,
As much
We'll
as
have-
it's completely overgrown in our town, that was an issue that we dealt with.
so we'll have a conversation.
Public portion.
We got a waiver in the back.
Public portion and public portion coming up.
Oh, okay, so I hold on to this?
Yeah.
Hold on to this.
All right. Moving on. Old business. Neiman Williams Park grant.
Okay, so the path at Neiman Williams has been repaved. That's been done. It looks really nice and it's, nice and flat. DPW did put in under drains in the two portions that have experienced flooding pretty bad in the past, which was great because we've been sending them our concept designs and working with Carl. So that it still needs to be closed up because the water needs to be rerouted, but the under drains are there, which is great. And I just set up a meeting today with Carl for next week to go over what materials we need to actually put the trenches in along the problem areas. So it'll have a landscaping mesh, gravel, to kind of soak up that water to even further stop more water from coming on the path. And there's some minor, Ted brought up a good point when we were out there. There was one place that I thought would be great for a rain garden, and he pointed out we could just kind of make like a channel that moves, so we're gonna do that instead, which I think is great. So we're working on getting our supplies and materials list together, and then we can start doing all that work, and we have a grant for that. We have a $20,000 grant from Sustainable Jersey, so we have the money for that.
And there's a bit of a, I don't know quite what you would call it, depression for an intermittent stream through the woods there that
There
just
is.
needs to be connected up to that. And then
Right.
there's the more definite stream, which is really mostly to the leeward side of the woods, which you want to, but there is, if you go look at it,
Yeah, Carl and I looked at it, I think what you have to do is channel, I like the word channel, because we
right.
talked about channeling the water from the park area into the wooded area to make it go to the wetlands and stream area. And we clean that stream out too, what is our responsibility near Matilda Avenue, that's the part that we clean out. The part that's further north is the responsibility of Leewood. They have not been good at living up to their responsibility.
yeah, when I went there and I came out on the other side, who should I meet but Vince Dominack, looking at what had been the Leewood
The
sales
trail,
office,
yeah.
that they do not show any signs of
No, they're
taking
just
down.
not being very responsive. And enforcement has begun.
I think, is Councilman Ray able to chime in on this? Because he
You
was there
really
yesterday.
want
And he gave me
to, who are we to
there a
deny Councilman
possibility
Wright the
to
chance to
plant-
speak about this?
Is there a possibility for shade tree, plant trees there? Because trees obviously
it's the
absorb
woods.
water and,
There are a lot of trees there. It's right on the edge of the woods.
but the last discussion we had at our last meeting was to remove trees because.
So we do have some in the concept design. There is some areas of the woodlands that we want to kind of like beef up with some more trees to do, and we will work with shade tree on that when it comes time. Yes, absolutely. So we'll be planting the trees. That's the last thing we'll do because first we have to dig up a bunch of the side. But we won't be removing any trees. The discussion we had was we originally want to plant trees by the playground grove. but we scrapped that idea because the residents in the area don't want it. And we want to be sensitive to what, works also for the people in the area.
That was one way you look out the apartment.
Yes, yes.
Now,
Yep.
I would jump the ship here a little bit and open public comment.
I think that's a great idea.
But do we have a motion to open the meeting at this point to public?
Open it.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Wright, come on up.
Just two things. The train tracks, I saw that on the agenda, and our esteemed fearless leader. The train track that run along the people's houses,
On Churchill.
that was a
Churchill.
problem with flooding. And Bob, I've been beating him up about this every year. Every 6 months, she beats up on me, I beat up on Bob.
And man, we did a bang-up job of fixing that
she's very
problem,
happy.
just ask her.
I knocked on her door. She's very happy.
Excuse me?
When I was campaigning, I knocked on her door. She's
Very
very
happy.
happy.
Yep.
Everyone back there, that was a problem because we were looking at this. I mean, he told me Comrail owned it. I was about to blow the tracks up because no one used it. And you're right, it goes up to 27. And it goes over 27, and there's nothing to be done with it. On the other end, it's paved over, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, the only reason why it's paved over at Veronica and Clyde was because we entered into agreement with Conrail that if they reactivate the train line, we're responsible for the cost to reinstitute the rails.
There you go. That's why it was
That's
closed
never gonna
over.
happen.
And
Well, you say it'll never happen, but there's an agreement, and they were not willing to relinquish it at that time either.
And my second thing is, you brought up Leewood, and in the redevelopment area, we're working on that issue with our good friends Leewood. As you know, they built all the townhouses,
Mr.
but
Fink.
we're working with them on that
That
issue.
is his name.
Okay?
Michael Fink.
Okay.
Thank you,
I'll wait for the
Councilman.
next session to come up, then I'll jump up again.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other public comment?
I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. This is back to your schedule here.
Consultant's monthly report.
Yep, the monthly report. Anybody have any questions on Tara on her report?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
You know what, I want to talk about her report, because I don't think it's, no, listen, I do. Because I think that most members of this committee appreciate. I don't know that how much you really do appreciate all of the work that this woman to my left does. And I realize, she's a paid consultant, and oftentimes I hear, this and that, well, she's the paid consultant, and I've heard this recently, and I'm like, I don't think that you honestly know the amount of time that she puts in that she doesn't bill for. All of the phone conversations with me that never show up on her report and her
And
bills,
county.
all right? And we are truly lucky to have her in this position, and I just want to say, these reports detail all of the basic work that she does, but it really is just the tip of the iceberg, and I see it every month, and I do appreciate all of the work that you do.
I concur. Bob.
I think we all do.
Just go all calls.
Thank you.
Go out in the middle of the woods with Bob Puskus and Tony Gaylord and Klein tree stands. Okay, when do I need to be there? That's a pretty.
We've heard that story. That's the short version. That's the short version. When Bob called me about this whole issue, and I'll elaborate on the issue a little bit in a minute here, but Bob called me, he says, please call this man, and he said, he's a little bit of a pain. I said, bigger than me, Bob? He said, you don't even come close. I was in Hackettstown, New Jersey that day, and I called him from my truck phone. I was leaving Hackettstown, and he says, I'll give you the short version. I was home. He was still talking. That's an hour trip. We heard it all twice. We heard it when the officer showed up. We heard the whole thing over again.
I have known Tony Gaylord for 35 years. For those of you who really don't know him, he's the retired chief of police from Princeton Township when it was still Princeton Township. And he has lived on 518 for my entire career here, and I'm sure a lot longer than that. I think he said 1970s. My secretary has his name and cell phone number on a Post-it note on her on her desk, so.
We appreciate-
Just say that.
We appreciate what he did, you know,
Yeah, no,
It's great sense, but just you got an idea, you gotta be a little shorter with his explanation.
Yes.
But,
his
he's
intentions
good,
are.
he's good eyes for our township
Yeah.
property, that's what we want our harvest to do.
The signage ideas are excellent.
Well, you know, one of the things, and I didn't talk about that, but one of the difficulties that we have with signage on this particular piece of property is that the back property lines are not marked. And it's not just Tony Gaylord's property that backs up to our property. There's multiple properties along Route 518 that back up to our property. And without, I mean, they were surveyed when we purchased the property, but the markets, there's no survey markers out there to determine
No, 'cause I
the
looked at
property
those.
lines.
Right.
So it becomes difficult for Public Works to go walk through the woods and post the property. That's why quietly over here I suggested, you know, if there's 10 hunters on this property, perhaps the hunters should post this property.
Yeah.
Well,
And they would.
And he would do it, I know he would.
Right.
At least his property.
The
he would.
hunters are very helpful.
And if you
They
look
will
at the
do it,
property
yeah.
lines, these are not right angle property lines.
No.
It's-
Right.
So it makes it difficult to put them on the property lines, which is where they need to go. We post the road and we post the parking
This is the one we
area.
had a couple years ago, driveway again.
It is,
Yes.
Okay.
and that's what he's talking about, the plastic Jersey barrier, water filled. That's to block off that access because we had that encroachment on our property there.
And it went
Speaking of Shade
right
Tree,
by the
speaking of
lady
Shade Tree,
at
that's a
the
piece of
house
property that Shade Tree should look at so there's this 10-foot wide piece of land that we own between, there's two developed private properties. One person was very upset about the clearing of that piece of property. It had just been scrub and overgrowth. It really needs to have significant tree plantings. And it is a wooded area, but it needs to be replanted. We're not looking at it as an emergency access point or anything like that. It needs to be restored to where it was. And I've talked to the property owner that was offended by the clearing of it by her next door neighbor. And she would be very enthusiastic about tree plantings there, both
And that would get rid of the
coniferous and
barrier.
deciduous.
There you go.
And that would get rid of the barrier.
Yeah.
And just to comment on his issue with the signs, we got sign, we know what needs to be on our signs, we've gone over this, and we shorten them up for many times, but we need to have certain.
Ted worked on them once too.
Yep, we had to have certain verbiage on the signs, but his theory of putting a sign up, not having it posted for 5 years isn't correct, because you can do that, but you have to go back out every
And
year.
remark it with the year,
Remark it
every year,
Every year.
post it, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
and
required by
Hunters
law.
will do that.
The hunters will help
do.
us. They
Yeah,
will.
but that is required by law. It has to have the
Current
current
date.
year on
Right.
on the
On the
sign.
poster, right. Anyway, updates from other committees. Anybody got anything to report?
Well, just two things for you to put on your calendars for those who would like to help us. April 13th, we're doing a stream cleanup at Seeley's Run. So we're meeting by the IHOP on Eastern Avenue in Franklin, what's it called?
Easton
Franklin Plaza, something like
Easton.
that. The IHOP, anyway.
Well, the very back of the driveway that goes in there, beyond the IHOP.
Yes.
It's
And
between IHOP and,
Franklin Green is
Shop
now
right,
called
right.
the Park. It's between
Stop and Shop.
Rutgers
Stop and
Plaza,
Shop,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Rutgers Plaza.
And
And it
so
runs all the way back to
April
the
13th, it's
apartments.
9:30 to 12.
Score
The Lower Raritan
because of that.
Watershed brings us picker-uppers, they bring water, they bring gloves, they bring garbage bags, they make it super easy. All you have to do is show up, bring a kid or two, because it's a nice opportunity for a young person to see how bad it looks, and then to see how good it looks. 2 hours later, you look and say, oh my God, it's the Garden of Eden.
Right.
So come along and send a neighbor. We would like that. And the other thing is we are officially this year, Franklin is endorsing a Save the Mow Till Earth Day program. So we encourage you to leave your lawn growing till April 22nd. It will allow the right plants for the pollinators to get a decent shot. After that, it's really not that important a growing season for us. One of our members did the study, documented everything. Other parts of the country call it don't mow till May.
No mow May, yeah, yeah,
And that works in Wisconsin, it doesn't work in New Jersey.
yeah.
So we would
You'd have a hell
encourage
of a lot
you.
of ticks.
No, you'd have a hell of a lot of complaints to the health department
Yes.
based on.
But it only goes till
current
April
ordinance
22nd.
regarding
10 inches.
mowing.
Sounds like-
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a good argument with my wife, though.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
isn't it,
Sorry, honey.
our local governments say like your lawn is
Our
too
mowing
high
season,
and
so,
you are,
so this date didn't come by randomly. Our municipal mowing season begins after that date,
Yeah.
and we've documented when we begin.
So do you tell
to
your
mow
wife
our
the
ball fields,
dandelions look
So we
beautiful?
felt comfortable saying
Thank you.
that we could make
Appreciate
that
it.
recommendation and no one mow before that.
So, thank you.
The man who usually occupies that seat and I had a whole lengthy discussion about it.
So that's it.
Yeah.
You see.
The only other thing I want to say, just from the Trails Committee, Anne Marie knows, is National Trails Day is the first Saturday of every June, every year. So it's Saturday, June 1st this year, and it's going to be at Bunker Hill Natural Area. And we're going to partner with our watershed ambassador, and she's going to do a watershed-based program there and also a walk.
Great. Oh, and I forgot, even before that, March 11th, we're doing a filming at the Board of Ed building, the old Consulata, and the film is called Kiss the Ground.
A film showing.
Film showing. Yeah, we're not making a movie, we're showing. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And so 7 o'clock till 8:15, we're gonna have a discussion afterwards. It's, the movie features Woody Harrelson and talking about regenerative agriculture and how regenerating our soils can go a long way to help us fight climate change.
I'm gonna go back to something that you just talked about before, the stream cleanup. Ted, you've done that Sealy's Run stream cleanup before. How far back do you go from Easton Avenue on that cleanup?
To the, I think, Petty Street or whatever. it
To
is
Petty
that
Road.
goes-
Okay, you do go far,
Petty
back all the way
Road,
back to what is now the park, which used to be Franklin Green. So
I-
for what it's worth, and I don't know what the current condition of the property is, but I know that there was some dumping, is from Petty Road to the stream, to the back property lines of those houses on Foxwood Drive, and all the way to the shopping center is a township-owned lot. We own that piece of property. And there has been dumping on that property in the past, so if you're feeling ambitious and you want to get out of the water, maybe it's too cold, that
Clean up the
property
lot, right?
might have some
Yep.
things to clean up as well.
Yeah.
And we, of course, save the big stuff for Public Works, but the.
Yeah,
little
no,
stuff
exactly.
we can do.
And I mean, or
Right.
if you happen to, you're there, you know, because it is overgrown, and you see big things, then Public Works can
Right.
go clean that
Yeah.
out too.
Great. Thank
We
you.
do own that piece of
All
property.
right.
We'll spread that
The
word.
furthest back I've seen them go with that is there's apartments back there, and that's the worst part of it.
All the back of the apartments.
Right.
And the
I can
remaining,
tell
Yeah.
you, Ted Chase
Oh, yeah.
probably broke the record pulling shopping carts.
used to be the big
No,
thing.
I was just going to
Years
say,
back.
there was an embedded shopping cart.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
so embedded, we didn't deal with
I
it
remember
because it
that.
was really going to take somebody with a winch to get it out.
To get the crane out.
But generally, that's how far, in the past,
Well, that's
how far back we
it.
go,
So
because that's like the worst part
I'm
of it,
sure.
right
I
there.
am
Because
very,
everybody
very
just
familiar with that.
comes out of their apartment and just
Particular
throws stuff in.
Sealy's Run.
Oh, you should have seen 1 Mile Run.
Oh,
In the emergency room.
Oh, by the way, the film showing that we're doing, we've invited Montgomery and Hillsborough Environmental Commission to spread the word and ask them to let us know when they're having films, and we'll try to get people to go.
Let's
Well,
get back to the
this is
business
for me
here.
to go to Montgomery.
Next thing on the agenda would be executive session, we already did public comment, and we need to go into executive session.
Yes.
Oh, we do.
Yes, we do.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Motion to go into executive session,
Don't make a motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
There will be no vote or public, no vote taken after